This is Military Bottom Line Podcast, episode 50.
I told him I wanted to have the job that would get me deployed, and I wanted to have the job that would get me out of here as soon as possible.
Interesting. So what job was that? Welcome to the Military Bottom Line Podcast, where we learn from veterans and those currently serving how to make the most out of a military contract. We're here to motivate, inspire, and help you leverage your service to positively impact you professionally, personally, and financially during your military career and beyond. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning in this week. We've got a special guest who has been blowing up on TikTok over the last couple of months for making videos about military discounts and deals. Jon Lynch has like 75,000 followers on TikTok. Today we talk a little bit about Jon's decision to join the Guard. He's been in the Air National Guard for 2 years now, and we were actually roommates while we were on some COVID orders last year. But he took the leap for education benefits and has kind of found a wide range of potential that he did not expect to see. So now he's hoping to make it a long-term career as he finishes out his degrees that he's getting for free. And he gives a kind of a good insight as to what a drill weekend is like, what the National Guard is like, and how to take advantage of some of those opportunities. So I think if you guys are looking for an inside scoop on the Air National Guard and what the Guard life is like, you'll enjoy this. Stay tuned. What's going on, Jon? Thanks for joining me.
What's up, Jason? How you doing, man?
Good, dude. Good. Yeah, man, I'm excited to hear your military story. I know we met just over a year ago now on the COVID call center orders. And so I know a little bit of your story, but now, you know, that you're on the internet with almost 100,000 followers on TikTok, telling people about military benefits and things like that. For those people on there that don't know your full story, let's hear like why you joined the military in the first place.
So I joined the Air National Guard back in 2019. The main reason why I decided to join was for education benefits. I was going to Keene State College, and I started to kind of become self-aware of how much I was going to have in student loans if I didn't do something about it. And the Air National Guard said, hey, if you join us, you're not going to have to pay any in-state tuition. So I took about a year off to do basic training in tech school with them. And I've been able to continue my education through them for a lot cheaper than I thought I was going to have to do. So that's been very helpful for me. But
nice. So you started going to college first. Like you never looked in the military prior to initiating college to see what the opportunities were for that?
No, and that's something I will keep myself up at night about, because I definitely could have done this route a lot better. So I started going to UNH at first. My first semester at college, I was very under-prepared, and I ended that semester with a 1.7 GPA.
Dang.
Yeah.
1.7 GPA and like a couple $1,000s in debt, or?
Yeah, about $5,000 in debt from that one semester. And I was like, oh, I learned so much from that one semester, but it was not educational at all.
Yeah. You didn't learn it in the classroom is what you're saying.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of like work my way back up. I went to community college. I found out Keene had an architecture program, so I ended up transferring over to the school I'm at now. And I've been able to say I've been very fortunate. So after joining the military, I got my first 4.0 GPA.
Nice.
So they definitely helped me get my act together.
Interesting. Yeah, that's somebody else was talking about that like the military somehow just gives you like a work ethic, you know, because I was a crappy student in high school too. And then after I go to the Marine Corps, it's like, you just realize that like you can actually, you know, do better than you were doing.
Exactly. No, exactly. Yeah. It's something I definitely don't give enough credit to them for, because I've been able to handle this pandemic experience with school and everything else like very well compared to how I might have done it before the military. I don't think I would have done nearly as well, for sure.
Huh. So what kind of preconceived notions did you have about the military? Like you basically were in college and you're like, I don't want to be this broke. I don't want to go into debt. Let me just, where's the dotted line? Let me sign. Like, I mean, what did you actually know and what kind of research did you do before making this decision?
I did a ton of research because I had a lot of time.
Mm.
I started the military thought process when an Army recruiter came to the college and was like just hunting kids down and was like, "Hey, you look desperate enough. What's going on?" So I ended up talking to him. He was a very nice guy. And he made me really start to think about having a military experience. After talking to him, I immediately just jumped on YouTube and started looking up what is basic training like, what is the military like, and what is the National Guard, because I didn't even know what that was at the time. So I ended up watching a lot of Kyle Gott. I don't know if you ever.
Kyle got Airman Vision or something like that.
Yeah, that's him now. Yeah. So I watched him for a very, very long time, and then I was like, wow, the Air Force seems a lot cooler than the Army.
Yeah.
So I ended up finding an Air Force recruiter
Okay.
for the National Guard, and
Nice.
from there it was pretty much history.
Right on. And so you've been in, you said 2 years?
Just about 2 years, yeah.
2 years.
Yes.
What did, so you signed and then like what was that process like when you signed with the Guard? How long did it take to actually go to basic? What did you do between the time when you signed to the time you actually left? Like, what has that journey looked like for you?
So I think for most people, it's a little bit different than mine. Once you sign up for the National Guard, you get to join like the delayed entry program or student flight. So each drill weekend where everyone else is working, you're also going to show up. You're going to learn a little bit of like military culture, maybe how to march or salute, things like that. And then you're just going to go to your workshop and hang out with people, kind of get a feel for the shop and maybe try to do a couple of things. That wasn't really the case for me. I enlisted in July. I had one drill weekend student flight experience that I couldn't even really remember. We just sat down a lot. And then in September, I was off to basic training.
Oh, pretty quick.
I was very quick. I told them I wanted to have the job that would get me deployed, and I wanted to have the job that would get me out of here as soon as possible.
Interesting. So what job was that?
That's POL, the petroleum, oils, and lubrication.
Okay.
So essentially the job is we just have these big trucks and we just drive on the flight line and fill up the aircraft with jet fuel. Huh. It's very, very simple, very fun job.
Really?
But yeah, I love it. The TDY that I've gone on was incredible. I really enjoy that job, actually. I went on like a little trip to go to a new base in Wisconsin, and I was able to fill up a couple of different types of jet aircraft that they had over there.
Cool.
That was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, those kind of like when you're new to the military and all of a sudden they're sending you new places that you never go, it's super exciting. It's super fun. Because
of course, yeah.
Yeah. Like otherwise you'd just be in the classroom back in college.
Exactly. I'm very bitter that I'm here. I really just want to be doing something,
Do you regret not going active duty?
I think for right now, active duty isn't the call for me. And this was mentioned in one of your podcasts. I can't remember which one, but it was more like once people get set at their new duty station, you can either rise above it or you can settle.
Yeah.
And kind of stay with it. And some of the people I know on the active duty side seem to have just kind of settled, and that kind of like turned me away from trying to maybe do an active duty career, at least this early on in my life.
Interesting. Yeah.
So something I was aware of.
Right on. So now that you're a traditional guardsman, which means 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year, with maybe a couple of TDYs and hopefully a deployment one day in there. Mm-hmm. What does a drill weekend look like for you? Trying to provide kind of a more like day-to-day picture and aspect of what military life looks like. And for a guardsman, when you go in 1 week in a month, like that's the only time you wear the uniform pretty much.
Yeah.
What happened on that drill weekend?
That drill weekend, It starts early Saturday. So for my shop, we start at 7:30, but I know for other shops, they actually start closer to 5 or 6.
Mm.
So you get to the base, you sign in, and once you're there, you're going to be doing a lot of meetings at first. You have to get all the monthly briefings for what's happened over the month, what's going to be happening for this drill weekend. For my shop, it's a little more set in stone. So we know we're going to do monthly maintenance inspections on the trucks. We're going to be probably filling up a couple of aircraft. We're going to be training people on different types of equipment that they might not have used yet. You have, I think it's half hour to an hour for lunch. So you can either leave base or you can eat at the DFAC that we have. And at least for our shop, we leave at 4:30, and then we're done for the day essentially. And then we come back on Sunday and we repeat that process. And it's very nice because it counts as a double day. So you get paid twice as much as you would if you were active duty.
Yeah. I think because that was a very simplified version of what happens on drill weekend. But at the end of the day, it is the minimum is that 1 week in a month then like the 2 weeks a year, or however you want to finesse that. And I've heard, that's funny. I've heard more people in the Guard say it than I ever heard on active duty say it. But I feel like the Guard gets paid. I think some Master Sergeant said it, that the Guard gets paid for what they might do, not what they do. So the pay is pretty good and the benefits are pretty good if all you ever have to do is the minimum of 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. You're getting free college right now, completely free. For working a part-time job, essentially.
No, exactly. That's something I really want to stress through TikTok videos and whatnot. In the state of New Hampshire. So I'm not even using the GI Bill, the post 9/11 or anything like that. I'm just using an in-state benefit, and I don't have to pay any tuition for any school. There's no limit to it. I can go get my master's degree with this thing.
Yeah.
Never have to pay any tuition fees. And
did you do, you just kind of got lucky because you're from New Hampshire that, New Hampshire has the tuition waiver. Did you find yourself doing research on hey, well, what does Maine offer? What does Vermont offer? What does Massachusetts offer? Are they better or are they the same? Or
honestly, New Hampshire, I have not found another state that offers anywhere near. Massachusetts offers the same benefit up to 130 credits. I don't believe Maine offers a total tuition waiver. So most the New England states have some kind of program. Down in Texas and things like that, you actually don't have any additional real benefits for education. But yeah, the cool thing is you can be in Vermont or you can be in a different state, and you can come to New Hampshire, and as long as you're a guardsman there, you still get that tuition waiver. And if you weren't, you'd still be paying in-state tuition rates. So you get treated very, very well for being in New Hampshire.
Yeah. I think I heard that some states, the Guard has the tuition waiver, but there are limitations. And the fact that Walter Ramos earlier on number of episodes back, also in the New Hampshire Guard, got his undergrad paid for and law school paid for, with the exception of a semester, I think. And the reality that you can go that far in an educational career completely free is mind blowing. And then if you do enough deployments and enough federal time to still get the post 9/11 GI Bill, it's endless college. You can just go to school forever if you really want to.
Of course, yeah. I think I qualified for maybe 50 or 60% of the 9/11 benefits. You need 3 years of active duty, so you have that, correct?
I do. Yeah, I was active duty prior, so yeah. But
so for me, I'm struggling to get those days, but I don't really need to have them in New Hampshire, which is very fortunate.
Yeah. And so there are difference because you'll have 6 years to get those 3 years of federal time, which kind of because your contract is 6 years, right?
Yes, I did a 6-year contract. Yeah.
And I think that's the standard for Guard contracts is 6 years of, standard Guard time, 1 week a month, 2 weeks a year, with 2 years in the IRR. I believe that's the standard.
Yeah, you can sign a 4-year contract, but you're still doing that additional 4 years of
Yeah.
the IRR or whatever. Like you're still on call, so you might as well do 6.
Yeah. Yeah. So even though you're getting, I mean, you're what, E3, E4?
E3, yeah.
E3. So like, yeah, I mean, what do you take home on it? If you don't, I mean, it's on Google.
No, yeah,
really.
no,
So,
I like to be open. I really like to be open about numbers because I always hear people like, "Oh, I'd save a ton of money."
yeah.
How much? I need to know. Is that actually a lot of money?
Uh-huh.
So for my drill weekend, I put probably about 10 to 15% into my TSP. So after I do that, after taxes and all that stuff, I think I make about $240, maybe $250.
Okay. I mean, $100 a day to go drill, like that's not bad,
No, it's really not. And since I'm so far away from base, I actually get a hotel for Friday and Saturday night. So that's always, it's free housing.
Yeah. And the TSP, for those that maybe are unsure, is basically the military's 401k, right? And you're just contributing to a retirement plan through the military, essentially.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And then so maybe 200, 250 a drill weekend. But if you consider the amount that you're getting from their tuition waiver, like if you were to give a cash value to the number of classes you're getting for free, what would you put that at? Because you're going to 2 state schools right now, pursuing 2 separate bachelor's degrees. Is that correct?
I am, yeah. So,
and it's all covered.
Yes, yeah. So for Keene State, for my architecture degree, it's $851 a semester. It's not including the housing that I'm in.
That's what you pay, is $841 a semester? Okay.
Yeah. And then for the housing I'm in, it's $600 a month, but it's whatever.
Yeah.
For the online school, for my second degree, it's $81 a semester. And that's just to get like access to like the actual program itself. But it's funny that you mentioned like actual numbers. So because I did this once, I was really curious to see how much I was going to save. So for Granite State, I'm going to save $16,000 getting that degree.
Okay.
And then for Keene State, I'm going to save another $16,000.
That's actually shockingly low. Like, is that compared to the in-state tuition if you're to go to those schools? Because like $16,000 for a bachelor's degree is like, dude, people would be pumped if that's all it costs. Like I don't know why I keep hearing stories about people being like 50 grand in debt.
Yeah, no. The reason is because I already did a couple of years of college. So
gotcha.
If I was to go back and start from the very beginning, it'd be closer to about 40,000, I think, for Keene State.
Okay, that makes more sense.
But yeah, unfortunately, I joined a couple of years later, so I find myself not totally gain all the benefits, but still, I'm very happy with what I've been able to save so far.
Sure. Nice, man. What do you feel like? Because you joined for that opportunity, you knew that one existed going into it. What's an opportunity that you have personally taken advantage of or found that you didn't know existed or didn't expect?
I guess it wouldn't be education based. I went to Disney I was able to get my family the Disney discounted military rates.
Huh.
So for this Christmas, we were able to go as a family.
Okay.
Which was really nice. I
thought they'd been closed for like a year because of COVID.
No, dude, they're open. Honestly, when I went there, they were really strict about all the mask stuff. Like you're sanitizing like every 5 minutes. Like it was actually it was so nice since it was so quiet, but they still were very aware of what was going on in the rest of the world.
Yeah. So I guess that makes sense because your TikTok videos are kind of based on like military discounts and deals, essentially. Like where can I get sweet deals?
Yeah, you can get sweet deals anywhere. Honestly, it's like there's a lot of great websites that can just provide you online discounts. That's the new one that I'm finding a lot of, which is kind of it's pretty nice. So you can use like ID.me to get the traditional benefits. You can use GovX for more. It's a little broader version of ID.me.
Would you? So, I mean, I just always want to be careful. Like, would you
Yeah.
encourage somebody to join the military for the military discounts?
I mean, I don't like if your only intention is to get 10% off like Apple products. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm not going to tell you can't, but
it
uh,
might not be worth it if that's all you're in it for.
no, exactly. I think you should definitely be aware. Like there is a reality to this. Even being a guardsman, like there is always the chance that you're going to be. I mean, you might already be aware of it. The COVID missions.
Yeah.
You might be voluntold to. You're gonna take time out from away from your family and friends and whatever. You're gonna have to serve your country in some way, shape, or form. Like that is a reality of
Yeah.
of the guard and military.
And I saw like somebody left a comment on a YouTube channel once, a YouTube video, that they're like, oh, well, like I'll join the guard because they don't do international deployments. And I'm like, hold up. Like, I don't know where you got that impression from, but that's definitely not true. Like not even close to true. So don't join the guard thinking like the worst you're going to do is like go direct traffic at your local marathon. Like that's, that will set you up for some massive disappointment when you get sent over like the Middle East for a year,
No, exactly. That's hilarious that someone think. I mean, I can understand some depending on your base and your unit and all that. There's a ton of factors behind it. But like you might not deploy for years at a time, but when you do, you're up. Congratulations. You know?
Yeah. I mean, there's more flexibility that I've seen in the guard than active duty. Cause generally like the guard is like one unit kind of thing, but they're not going to deploy the whole guard base. It's more of like, hey, we need 5 guys from this job, 3 guys from this job. And they ask for volunteers first. And so if there are people that are eager to volunteer to deploy or go on these TDYs or TADs or whatever, and you're, maybe you're focused on school, maybe you're focused on family at that point in time, you don't have to volunteer, but if not enough people volunteer, then you're going,
Yeah.
and then again, that also depends on your job. Like there are jobs that deploy as groups rather than individuals. So like infantry stuff, like in the Army Guard, they're going to deploy as like a unit as opposed to POL,
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. During the COVID missions, I was talking to some of the Army guys and they're like, we're just all going to deploy. I'm like, you guys can do that? And they're like, we have to do, it was a different mindset. Most of them didn't want to deploy, they had family and whatnot, but they're just like, our time's up, we got to go.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny that some people, it often seems like the people that want to deploy don't get the chance. And then the people that don't want to deploy are voluntold, not always, but I feel like that has been a pattern I've seen.
I think that really has to do with a lot of leadership at your shop and whatnot. I think there can definitely be a lot of things that could be improved for that stuff. I'm very grateful. Like my shop is incredible. They really listen. They try to compromise and to help you out in any way possible for situations like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you feel like, are the pros and cons as far as, joining? Like what's been the downside that has come with joining? Because we all know it's not all rainbows and unicorns.
There's been parts that haven't been great, maybe in tech school or in basic training, you'd like bad days or, you got yelled at, maybe not to the extent that the Marines were yelled at, but it was still like, there's some days that suck. There's some days where you don't feel like you're heard or understood. And I mean, admittedly, for probably some people listening, they might be like, that's what the military is.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, at least for my unit, that's not the case. So that was always kind of a shocker. I couldn't really tell you a huge negative downside because my main experience right now has been with the COVID missions, and I happily volunteered for those. I had civilian jobs fall through. I had nothing else going on, and they gave me a huge opportunity.
I mean, that brings up another good point. Like during economic hardships or, like pandemics, like this has been, having the guard kind of like in your back pocket as like a source of income and a job that like is there, and you can, not that you can always be like, hey, I want to come to work for the next month, but like there are usually opportunities that, if you got laid off or furloughed, that you could volunteer to go help out in a different scenario and still make sure that you're able to provide for your needs during that time.
Exactly. I think that's like the ultimate upside to it, the job security of it. Like there was never like, oh man, our base is shut down. It's like, no, we might be low staffed due to the pandemic, but the mission's still going to happen. You're still showing up to work. You're still getting paid.
Yeah. 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 That's pretty wild. I know the call center was crazy. So,
I really enjoyed it. I wish I could still be on it to some extent. I really enjoyed helping people out, especially with the unemployment one. That was really interesting to see.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about because we keep referring to it as the call center. What was it? What is it?
Okay.
What was that mission?
The call center started as National Guardsmen from both Army and Air Force going and helping out with the New Hampshire unemployment hotline. And then it quickly spread to do our 211 call center, which is like a general helpline, setting up for COVID tests. After a couple of months, we had different missions start to explore, distributing PPE and now administering the vaccines itself, actually. So when you and I were in there, there only was the unemployment call center and the 211 call center. So our job was we'd wake up, we'd go to our little booth and we'd put on our headphones and we'd just listen to people and try to help them out however we could, file for their weekly claims and try to comfort them ultimately, because there was a lot of people who weren't receiving money for a while and things definitely got a little desperate.
Yeah. Man. I had such mixed feelings about the whole thing. Like there were those that you could definitely tell, like, man, I'm like really helping this person out. And then there are those that you just can tell, like, dude, I want to hang up on you so bad. You're shysty. Like, get out of here. Get out of my face.
I had some people yell at me, and like it was very fortunate because I know you worked at the ECTC, but I actually worked at the fire station, and that's where we had like the original group of people there, the original guardsmen who were there. So they were able to be the managers and whatnot. Like, oh, I need to speak to your supervisor. Like, oh, here you go. Like they take care of a lot of situations for us.
So you talked about earlier how prior to, prior to joining the military, like you barely made it through a semester. You had like a 1 point whatever GPA. And like, not to rub that in, but and then like something has changed over the past couple of years of being in the military, where you were just able to get that 4.0. So what has changed? Like, how has your mentality changed and your perspective changed through the military? Like, how has that changed you?
I think going through basic training and joining the National Guard made me realize I make a lot of before I used to make a lot of excuses, and I loved to make up scenarios where I'm like, oh, there's no way I could pass this class. It's just too hard. And then I'd look back and I'm like, well, I was playing video games 4 hours a day. Like, what did I expect to have? Yeah. I think it made me call my bullshit out, to be quite frank. Like, there's a lot of excuses that it made me have to acknowledge. Time management is huge in the military. So that was another thing that was like, got to get my act together.
Is it because I don't know, I just envision somebody being like, well, is it just like magic? Like what happened that made you realize that? Like, was it one experience that made you realize like, wow, I make a lot of excuses and like I am my own worst enemy in this? Or was it just kind of a culmination of seeing how the military worked and seeing that like, yeah, I could make an excuse for this, but that like my boss still says this needs to get done. Like my drill sergeant still says like, I got to figure this out.
I guess I could say it's a combination of both, but I would refer back to basic training, where I found someone who kind of lived off making excuses for himself. After a while, I realized I'm like, that's what I've been doing for a lot of my life. So I guess it was like looking at myself in the mirror sort of a thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to become this guy. This guy was in his 30s and he's still was pretty whiny. So I was like, I don't want to be like that. I got to change, you know?
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's something I never even thought about before, is that like when you join, I mean, you're placed around like so many different types of people from all over
Mhm.
the country. And before you left, you're kind of like, you just kind of stay in your bubble, and you don't recognize like that your habits until you see it in somebody completely different. You're like, oh my goodness, like that you're horrible, like you suck. And then you're like, wait a
Yeah.
second, like I do that. Let me I don't want to be like you. Let me fix that. Like let me
Yeah.
fix whatever my issue is. Because you start to see it in other people that you maybe do or do not want to emulate.
I'd heard this somewhere. I don't even know if it's entirely true, but it's like it takes like 2 months to create like a habit or a
Yeah.
lifestyle change or something like
Yeah.
that. And I was like, I mean, Air Force basic training, it's just over 2 months. So I was like, I think like it's just being constantly drilled into my head,
Yeah.
you got to be accountable for yourself and others. And
Mm.
um, yeah, it was a lot of little things, but definitely basic training was the one where I stepped up and I was like, I need to stop. Like I stepped up on myself. I was like, you can't be living this way anymore.
Yeah. 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 What do you where do you hope to take your military career? I mean, do you at this point 2 years in, are you like, yeah, freaking A, let's keep going, or you're like, let me get my degrees and get the heck out of Dodge?
Get my degrees and get the heck out was the initial approach, honestly.
Mm,
I was like, well, as long as I can get my degrees for essentially free, I do my 6 years, I'm out.
yeah.
Once I went in and I really started to look at, once again, the military benefits more so than just online discounts compared to thinking more of like your 401k plan, your healthcare plans, and different things like that. I was like,
Yeah.
I was looking, I was like, I could really help a future family. I could really change to like where my family's financial trajectory could be going in a very significant upward spiral. So at this point, I'd like to try and commission, hopefully in a year or two. Um, so we're kind of working on that. I still have to get my degree, so that'll happen next year. So
Yeah.
after that, I'm gonna apply. Maybe I'll stay in P's. Maybe I'll go active duty. We're still trying to figure that out.
Mm,
But I do see myself trying to make an actual career out of this, whether it's full time or part time. I still see myself trying to stay in for 20.
cool. Yeah. Two down, 18 to go.
That's the thing. It's flown by so much. I'm like, it's been 2 years already. Like we had another girl just get back from basic training and she joined our shop. I'm like, oh my God, it's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it though.
Time flies. What was your biggest reservation when you joined?
The only reason why I hesitated at all was because there was financial reasons why I couldn't join earlier than I wanted to. So I actually stayed in school an additional year longer than I wanted to be for family financial reasons.
Gotcha.
But besides that, no, I just really wanted to jump in. I wanted to do something bigger than myself, and I found it,
Yeah. Yeah. Right on. Yeah. I mean, I know for me, like, I was 17 and I was like so scared of like, I was going to join the Marine Corps and like tomorrow they're going to send me to Afghanistan, like that was a big reservation for me at the time.
Mhm.
That like goes away once you realize like how the military works and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, people are going to have some kind of reservation. They're like, there's going to be something that makes them hesitate.
Mhm.
Even though like obviously there's a strong pull in that direction, which is why they're either listening to this or going to talk to a recruiter. Like they still have that desire to an extent. And I think if like somebody goes to that extent, like whatever that reservation is, just like ignore it and just jump. I mean, that's kind of
Oh, of course, yeah. I guess the reason why I didn't really have like a holdback thing is from the time it took me 11 months from the first day that I started talking to my Air National Guard recruiter to me actually enlisting.
mm,
That was due to medical waivers, and I was actually in Scotland for most of that time,
huh,
so I was studying abroad and whatnot.
huh,
Um, so I had a ton of time to look things up, to research and get prepared
yeah,
for what I had to do. So, I mean, I'm still nervous. I think everyone's still going to be nervous, but
sure,
I think I think it always looks scarier than what it's actually going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude. Story of my life is like hyping things up in my head way more than reality actually provides, which is like great in some cases. Like, boot camp, like you think it's going to be the most impossible thing ever. And then you get there and you're like, this is very tolerable.
It really
know,
is.
but yeah, like reality is usually a bit different than what we play out in our heads. So, yeah.
Of course. I thought I'd be, I was really nervous, like for the physical aspect. I mean, if we're doing a video, I'm 6'4", I'm very skinny. And I was very nervous for the PT stuff. I mean, I was in the gym preparing before I went to basic training, but we had a 38-year-old millionaire in our flight. Yeah.
Self-proclaimed millionaire. Like, where's the evidence of this? I don't believe that some 38-year-old millionaire is going
to. He had. I don't remember the type of credit card. I looked at. He was explaining it, and actually at the time, I kind of knew a little bit about it. It's one of those cards that you have to be invited to. You have to have like a liquid amount of over $1 million, like in your banquet or something like that.
And he's like, hey guys, I'm the man. Like, look at this credit card. Like, this means I'm a millionaire.
No, he kept that secret for probably 3 weeks. We didn't know. He was like this old Indian guy, beer belly type of like crazy stuff. And I'm like, why are you here? He's like, I got bored.
Huh.
This guy was like homeless at the age of 17. He's like worked his way up. He owns like 17 like urgent cares and like 5 like Verizon stores, like things like that.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
Crazy cool guy. And he was
that just goes to show like the spectrum of people you're going to come across.
No, exactly. I never thought he only joined just because he could, and then he's like, I'm just going to commission right after. He had a couple of PhDs. He was just like, I'm just bored. He's just like, it's like if you were to meet someone who's like played a video game so often, it's just like, yeah, I'm just going to kind of come back and do it again. Just because he could. He already completed everything that most people would consider to be successful in life, and he's just like, I want to do more.
Interesting. Yeah. And everybody's got their own reasons. Everybody's got their own motives. And at the end of the day, who really cares? Like, as long as you show up and you're a good person, and you do your job, like nobody really cares while you're there. If you do it for college or if you do it, for patriotic reasons or because you want to go to war, like no one, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
just be a good person. But
no, exactly. Maybe don't tell your recruiter you're trying to go to war though.
If that's your reason, then go talk to the Marine Corps recruiters.
Yeah. No, I met a guy on my TDY and he talked to the chaplain or something like that. And he's like, I want to kill people.
Dude, that was like my entire boot camp platoon.
And no, but like he couldn't deploy. Like he's not deploying because of that. They wouldn't let him.
Huh.
He was in the Marines for, I think, 4 years. And then he joined the Air National Guard. And he's like, for some reason, they're not going to let me deploy. And I'm like, you're straight up just telling the chaplain. Because like he didn't word it as like, oh, I want to go kill bad guys or something like that. He's just like, I want to kill people. And it's just like.
Yeah. It's, a little more tact would have been better there. But,
yeah.
Right on. Awesome, man. Well, any parting wisdom or advice for anybody that's maybe thinking about joining the Guard?
Honestly, listening to this podcast, if this was available before I joined, I think this would actually be really informative to see what's beyond it. I think people need to understand what's going to happen beyond the military, because the military is not going to be your entire career.
Yeah.
Life beyond it, and people need to be aware of it.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah. And like you said, like things change. So like you thought you were going to do 6, get your degrees and leave. But now you're thinking like, okay, this ain't bad. Like, let me think long-term on this. And on the other side of that coin, some people think they're going to stay in for 20, and then they get in and they're like, this is not what I want it to be. Let me get out after 4. But, preparing for either one of those options while they're in is critical to make sure that like their military career is successful or the transition out is successful.
Of course.
So yeah. And there's a lot of opportunities to screw it up. So
There
learn from
really
those
is.
that have, and learn from those that have been successful to do it the right way.
Yeah, no, exactly. Just be aware.
Yeah.
Take your time. Don't rush it.
Right on. Awesome, man. Well, where can people, you can give them your TikTok name so people can go find you on TikTok.
Perfect. Okay. It's Jon Lynch.
Which is right behind you, right? Spelled on your map.
I have a little map. I don't know how well you can see that, but I have a little map. These are like followers from across the states, and that's blowing my mind.
All over the country.
Yeah, all over the country. I actually have, like, there's someone from Italy on here. We got Canada, we got Guam, Mexico. Like, we got a ton of.
It's crazy, dude. The internet is wild. Well, for everybody that wants more information on Jon, go find him on TikTok or Instagram. It's Jon Lynch. Lynch with a Y. But I'll put a link in the description.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Jon. Thanks for telling your story, and thanks for connecting. It's been a minute.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Jon. If you guys want more information about Jon or want to hear all about the tips and tricks and discounts that he talks about on TikTok or Instagram, you can find him at It's Jon Lynch. I'll link that below. Check him out. See you guys next week.